so happy you're here.
We are.
We are happy you're here. And we are really excited to continue on this journey with the, I guess, campground reviews. They're not really campgrounds. They're Harvest Host
kind of
reviews.
A subgroup of our campground reviews.
Yes.
Our Harvest Host reviews.
Our Harvest Host reviews, but they're still on the same theme of, is it a big rig friendly spot? Because that's, I mean, even though it says big rig friendly and, you know, the whole nine, we need to, you know, we're giving our perspective on it so that you know if you've got a rig that's about our size, that it'd be good for you. We did another video where we talked more about Harvest Host and the membership and the price and all that. We'll put a link to that below so you can take more time to take a look at that. But today's review is going to be on the Veterans Memorial Museum.
Yes.
And this is in Chehalis, Washington. As far as the nearby attractions, what do you remember?
Well, they had the nice downtown. I mean, it was cute.
It was a cute downtown.
It was on kind of, how do we describe it? Kind of a wagon wheel grid.
Yeah.
So just need to be careful as far as one ways. I mean, but that's not that uncommon with any downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly no like DC.
No.
But again, you know, just need to be mindful of the one ways.
Yeah.
What else was around there? Oh, they had, it was great for like refueling.
Yeah.
So refueling your body and refueling
Yes.
your vehicle and
Yeah.
anything else you need, because they had a tractor supply and a Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
They were across the street from each other.
That's
in
pretty
fact.
awesome. We don't usually see both of them that close together.
No,
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
For the nearby attractions.
As far as things that are notable, I mean, you're typically only there for one night, so, you know, you're just looking for what you know, like if you need a part or a supply or you need something you need to get to quickly, you know, you can get to it, you know, any of those locations. Yeah. We even picked up a case of water because we were still testing out this whole, you know, tank supply and battery supply thing, so we had what we need. So we stayed there in August 2022. The hookups, you know, the Harvest Host system typically does not have hookups, so there's no water, power, or sewer, so you need to operate off your tanks, your holding tanks for fresh water, and then sewer, and then as far as electricity goes, you need to figure out what works for you there.
And I mean, you can ask, certainly.
Always ask.
Sometimes you might get electric.
You might.
You know, you might get water. You know, you just need to ask. But typically, they don't have hookups.
Yeah. And in our case, what we're doing, and this has really been kind of interesting, is we're getting to know our RV a little differently because we've got a couple of lithium batteries. We do not have any solar panels, and we're trying to figure out this mix of how long can those batteries go without the generator. We do have a generator. You know, what can we use on DC power? You know, all of that. So we're still working on that and still getting to know our RV. Yeah. This was, as far as concrete or gravel, this was an asphalt parking lot. Now, when we first pulled in to the address of the location, you pull in right in front of the museum, only to realize that you've passed the location that you need to pull into.
One of the locations.
Yeah, one of the
And
locations.
they give you some options.
Yeah.
But for our size, you know, we really needed to utilize that parking lot. And so as it turned out,
we had to back up. Yeah.
because we pulled past it because we didn't know that.
We didn't know. And it wasn't a problem. It wasn't, how far would you say it was?
Oh, we probably had to back up, I don't know, 50, 75 feet
wasn't that
maybe.
bad,
I mean,
yeah.
and it was just straight back. I mean, we didn't have to do anything, you know,
No crazy maneuvering.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it was just kind of backing straight back, and so that we could turn into the parking lot.
Yeah, and we'll put some photos here of the front of the museum and the area that we're talking about. He actually offered for us to, because he's like, wait, 44 feet? That's big. Like, well, your ad says you'll take bigger than 45 feet. But he said we could actually park out in front, but it would be better if we were in the parking lot because he said there'd be less issues there.
Right.
Of course, I had to ask what that means, but we'll talk about that later. The access road and anything in terms of getting to the property, it was right off of I-5. It was sort of on what looked like a frontage road. We came around and then pulled in, so that part wasn't bad. It's just the and actually getting into the actual parking lot wasn't bad after we backed up.
No. and thankfully there was no cars in the parking lot because we came on a Saturday, and even though the museum is open, it's still in a very small town.
Most of the people were parked in front,
so most
not
of
in
the people,
lot.
that were either there visiting or working were parked in the front parking. So the parking lot that he directed us to was pretty much empty. There was one car in there, and they eventually came and moved their car. I think when they saw how big we were, they might have got a little concerned. I don't know, but they did move their car. So anyway, the access wasn't really an issue.
No. And as far as lot spacing is concerned, because this was a kind of a small parking lot, we were able to get in, turn around, and then back into our spot. And then there was that car that was still there. But, it was plenty of space for us. We got there first.
Yeah, because, this one, I think you mentioned, I think this particular location says they can accommodate 5 RVs. But again, with the size that we are, they probably couldn't accommodate 5 RVs the size that we are.
No, not the size that we are. One thing I'll point out too is that when we went in to check in, so first of all, the communication between us and that property was great. They were responsive. They helped us by responding to our questions. And then when we came to check in, they gave us a little, I guess parking lot schematic to say, here's where we want the RVs to park. So that was kind of nice. And they showed, the different spots that they had for RVs. If you had people that were in small campers, you could probably fit a few of them in there, but because of our size, you couldn't fit as many as they had on their list. In terms of other amenities, the museum was amazing.
Yeah, that museum was amazing.
I've never seen anything like it.
No, we took several, we have lots of pictures, so we'll share some of those, but I think it was the biggest flag I've ever seen.
Never seen a flag that big.
I've never seen a flag that big. And again, the museum is in like an airplane hangar. Kind of it's been repurposed for this museum, and so so it's a big space. And so they had this giant flag. They even had a small plane. I don't know what era it was from.
I don't either.
It was from some war era, I forget, but they had it hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
So just to give some perspective, we took some pictures. It's hard to really convey that in a photo, but it was an outstanding museum.
It really was, and it was kind of a chronological order all the way from the. What's the first?
I think it started with like the Revolutionary War.
The Revolutionary War, all the way through all the different wars, and so they had mannequins wearing the actual, uniform of the time. They had other artifacts of the time, stories about it, and then they were in these glass cabinets. And then at the top of each of the window panes, if you will, we'll show some pictures of that. They actually had the people who, either people that it was a tribute to them, or they were sponsors of that pane. So it was actually. I've never seen anything like it. It was so well cared for and so beautifully done. And it's not sponsored by the government at all. So they are really looking for donations. So it was really smart for them to get into Harvest Host.
No, it was really fantastic. Highly recommend stopping by there if you happen to be in Chehalis.
Yeah. It's worth every bit of time that you're going to spend in there. One thing that I sat in front of because my father was Air Force, 20 years in the United States Air Force, and he's since passed. They had this display. It was like a tree, and they had dog tags hanging from it, almost like ornaments. And I sat there for a moment and remembered my father's service. So it was really well done. Really well done. Pet friendly. It was pet friendly. It's not like they had dog bags or cans around, but there was a big field across the way for us to walk Charlie in, and they had a dumpster that was up near the museum that wasn't locked, so we could actually use that. To throw the doggy bags away, and it worked out. It worked out great. Yeah. What would you say were the top 3 and the bottom 3 for this one?
I think top 3. I think again it was, as we talked about, there was ample space. There was another family did join us. I don't know if we mentioned that already or not, but I think his name was Jay and his family. His wife and they had two kids
and a doggy
and a dog, and they also had a momentum.
They did,
surprisingly. So the two of us sat there next to each other. So the point is that there was enough space for both of us to sit there comfortably in this parking lot.
Yeah, and we were glad we got there early because we were able to get in and get maneuvered. Now he was able to maneuver in, and I'll show some video of that. It sure is a busy day here at the Harvest Host. Oh my goodness, good thing we got here first. Two momentums backing in. Those two rigs fit in there great, but anything more would have been a little tight.
Anything of our size,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
smaller vehicles could have definitely. There would have been room for more additional
Camper van,
smaller, right?
Class B, yeah.
But something else our size would have probably been a challenge.
Yeah.
It was again the proximity from the freeway was really good. You were literally right off the 5.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
And then and we've kind of mentioned this with the amenities nearby attractions was just stuff was close by. I mean,
Yeah.
we went and got gas. We went to
Lolitas.
we went to trailer.
Did we go to Tractor
Did we
Supply?
go? I think we went to Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
And just there's just plenty of stuff there to kind of, allow you to get things and supplies and be ready to travel the next day.
Yeah, that was great. Bottom 3.
Bottom 3, kind of the opposite of being close to the I-5 was the fact that you were close to the I-5. So you actually had the noise from the freeway. But
Yeah.
I don't remember it being.
I don't remember it being
too
bad.
I don't remember it being distracting at all, to be honest.
No. As a matter of fact, the first Harvest Host that we were at, it was the distillery. I forget what town that was. It was Madras, yeah, Oregon. We were right near the 26. I remember that being louder than this. So,
Yeah.
and we were, I guess we were closer to that one too. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have some other road noise though, not just from the highway, but from where the museum was situated was in somewhat of a residential area, and there was a main kind of thoroughfare that took you into this residential area, and you would have thought that was a freeway, because the cars that were driving down that
Peeling.
were just flying down there, and they were kind of loud. So,
Yeah.
but the good thing is that noise all went away around 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's a small town again, so people kind of, go to bed.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so there was that road noise, and our rig was backed up to that street, so just something to be aware of. And then the last thing was this interesting tidbit Alicia stumbled onto regarding catalytic converters.
Yeah.
We were told. Well, I think you did the research, and then it was kind of reconfirmed.
Yeah.
I don't remember the order that we learned it in. Was it the guy at the museum, and then you did the research?
No,
You did the
I
research,
did the
and then the
research
guy
first,
in the museum kind of reconfirmed this whole catalytic converter ring.
It's crazy.
That was
I
going
don't
on.
even know what prompted me to do this, but sometimes, on a one-night stay or even on a regular campground stay, when I do the research for the city that we're going to be in, I click on the news tab just to see kind of what's popping in the area. And the first thing that I saw for Chehalis was there's this recent bust of a woman who, or I don't know if it's a woman, but the picture that you see is a garage full of catalytic converters. So there was a problem with people stealing those. And so that's a thing anyway. But then I thought, okay, so that's a data point. I didn't know that it was anything to actually sound the alarm about. And then when I went to go check in at the museum, the guy said, well, you could stay right out here in front, but there'd probably be less problems than if you stayed in the parking lot. And I was like, problems? Like, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, the whole catalytic converter thing. I'm like, okay, so now this is a thing. I saw it on the news clip, and now you're bringing it up. So this makes me feel like there's something to be concerned about. We didn't have any problem being in that lot, and it was great that we did have a neighbor next to us too.
Yeah, it was comforting that Jay and his family were there.
Yeah.
And again, I believe his name was Jay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think we would not go there should Chehalis be in our route to someplace else.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good one-night stop at this museum.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll also say that, if there's a takeaway from this, use the news tab, when you're researching these things, just so that you can see if there's anything that you need to be aware of. We're not saying in any of this that it's something to not do. It's just something to be aware of. Yeah. So would we give this a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Thumbs down? Yeah, we would.
Totally thumbs up.
We would give this museum
We would definitely go back there again should it be in our route to someplace else.
Yeah. Yeah. And with all of the Harvest Hosts, the practice is that you either make a purchase that equates to $20 or more, or you make a donation. In this case, we did a donation to the museum, and we bought a really great sticker. We'll put a picture of that. Yep. Because it was mostly military, gear that was in the
gift
store.
shop was fantastic.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
They had all kinds of hoodies and clothing and mugs and toys,
Yeah.
but it was all very as you can imagine, military focused.
Military focused, yeah.
But we did find a really cool sticker.
Yeah. So was there something that we learned here that was different than the first time? We learned a lot the first time, and that video was a bit longer because there was a ton that we learned. What would you say was different here?
I don't know that we had a lot more that we learned. I mean, we kind of already knew how the power worked. I know you noted that, the our USB outlets still do work off a battery, but I think we kind of knew that. We did test the length, though, of the batteries again. We
a little bit
turned
longer.
off the generator
earlier.
Yeah, earlier, about 9?
Mm-hmm, about an hour earlier.
About an hour
than the
and
first
a half
time around.
earlier than the first time.
Yeah.
And still no change in the batteries overnight. We
Yeah.
still woke up with basically the same amount of power.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing we need to understand is, we're trying to understand how do the batteries get utilized. How does the power actually work? So, in other words, you put your batteries in, say, a flashlight. Say it's a 2-battery flashlight. When the flashlight no longer comes on, the batteries are dead. You know to change the batteries. But we're not sure if the rig works the same way. Will it drain both batteries at the same time? Or does it drain one and then drains the next? And I don't know if that's dependent on how they're hooked up. We just don't know. So if you know, let us know.
Drop it in the
Leave
comments.
us a comment just to help us understand. I mean, it might be a silly question, and maybe it's obvious, but we're new to this. So
Yeah.
Let us know. Did the batteries deplete at the same time, or would we expect one to deplete followed by the next one?
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing we really want to still know.
Yeah.
But we had a great time. We sat and played Scrabble.
We did, since we turned the generator off earlier than the previous time. We just got our headlamps out and played a nice little game of Scrabble. I'll put a picture of that. That was hilarious.
Because again, we were sort of in this residential area, so we
didn't want to
run
the generator too long.
In the first place, we were really we were in kind of an office park area, and there was nobody there. But where we were this time, it was a little more residential, so we wanted to honor kind of a
quiet hours.
And so we turned it off around 9. But
Yeah.
and again, because we didn't know, we chose not to turn the lights on, even though we know we can turn the lights on the batteries.
Yes, that's true.
So,
yeah, we didn't want to drain the battery.
We didn't want to drain the battery since we had turned it off earlier.
Yeah.
So again, these are things that we're still trying to figure out: is how long can we sit with the lights on, know that the refrigerator will work overnight without needing the generator? Because I did set the auto start feature in the One Control, but again, it didn't come on because
It didn't need
the
to.
batteries don't drop below the level that it would require it to come on.
Yeah.
So we're still learning, but so far it's been a good experience.
Yeah, and we'll put a chart up here that shows what draws AC power and DC power, and I think that's pretty industry standard, but it's good to know this, right? Because if you're going to be boondocking for a night, it's just good to know, how far you can take those batteries. You might look into what kind of batteries you have too, but
And to know what runs on what.
and what
Because that's
what
really
runs on
that's
what.
really the thing that we really trying to understand is what does actually run on your batteries versus what runs on your AC power.
AC, yeah. And I would say that overall, as we continue to do these harvest hosts, we're really getting to know our RV in a different way, because most of the time we're in campgrounds and we're full hookup. So without being hooked up and without having solar panels, it's what is possible. What is possible, and how can we, operate with what we have. The generator and the batteries so far has really been great. Yeah, it's really been great. Yeah. Well, that's about it, folks. This is the Veterans Memorial Museum. It was a harvest host spot in Chehalis, Washington. We gave it a thumbs up. Charlie gave it a paw up. He's down here on the ground resting himself. And we really enjoyed it, and we would absolutely do it again. And if you have any comments about whether you've stayed here, whether you've seen the museum, or whether you have a recommendation for a harvest host,
harvest hosts that
we
are
big rig friendly. We have to have that.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Drop us a comment.
Yeah.
And then of course like,
subscribe,
and
share,
hit the notify button.
Hit the notify button, and follow
help.
us on Instagram. We're also on Instagram at Mile High Beach. You can join us there too. Alrighty, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Wow.